Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-free review for Only Murders in the Building, Season 5. The easiest way to win is to make your opponent think they're playing a different game entirely. Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. My name is Nate, and this is our spoiler-free review for Only Murders in the Building, Season 5. A jumbo shrimp-sized thanks to our friends at Disney Studios Canada and Hulu for letting us watch this season early for review. If you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast celebrating the world of movies, TV shows, games, and all things Geekcentric. Today, I'm joined by my lovely fellow Arconia tenants, a pair of murderinos who've got no problem taking on the latest case as long as there's some dips involved. First up, he's the jazziest, justice-loving jokester who's a little jittery around a jury. He's Justin, the legendary pepperoni pilchin' lobby leaking Lawrence.
Lobby leaking? Wow. That's quite the title.
You be leaking in the lobby every now and then?
Well, I definitely leak, but just not in the not in the lobby.
And how about pepperoni pilchin'? You been pilching pepperonis?
I will definitely pilch pepperonis. If someone's like, I'm not a pepperoni fan, I'll be like, oh, that's okay. I am
pilching them. And listen, out of the New York fog, he stumbles with what looks like blood on his shirt, but it's actually just a good pasta sauce. He's Detective Darcy, the hooded, hypothesizing half-truth Hudson.
Sorry, I got hung up on the sauce thing.
You probably got a little bit of sauce on you.
I
mean, listen, the last time we went out to dinner, at least twice.
I got one drop of ramen on me, okay? That's pretty good for slurping up a whole bowl, okay? Like one drop towards the end, not bad.
But are you better with sauce then? You take care of your sauce?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big spaghetti noodle guy. I like more penne. Like that's my noodle of choice, and less slurping, less sauce being sloshed around, so...
What about pepperoni pilching? You pilching pepperonis?
I mean, sure. Yeah, I tend to do it when they're not looking. Like it's a running gag in our house to try and steal other people's food off their plate. And pepperonis are like the go-to.
They're so pilchable, I think, is the big thing.
They're just sitting there ripe for the picking.
That's it. Guys, we are back for the 5th season. Getting to 5 seasons is in this streaming era is already a feat within itself, but to do it within 5 years is kind of unheard of in the streaming era. I mean, most shows were taking years in between. Look at Stranger Things. It's taken a decade to get to 5 seasons. I know that's a much bigger scale of a project compared to a show like this, but what do you guys think of going into the 5th season of Only Murders in the Building?
Well, honestly, I mean, I love the show and I will keep watching, but I'm wondering how many times can a murder happen in this building that I'll be interested in. And I got to say, last season, while I did enjoy the celebrity status that the movie brought the crew to, outside of that, I felt there's a lot of, just filler episodes or plot lines. But I feel like this season brought me back entirely in terms of the pacing and the mystery of it all. So I'm definitely back on board.
Awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you, Darcy. I think, it's interesting that we're, like you were saying, Nate, it's been 5 seasons, 5 years of the show. They've been able to get these executed really quickly. And I think that has a lot to do with just, existing sets that are built and just the sort of structure of how quick and fast paced, these episodes are like 30 to 40 minutes, at best. And, they go quick, and that's always been the case from the very beginning. Of season 1. So I think they have a structure and a formula, but to the point of what you're saying, Darcy, I wonder how much more steam they have in that formula. Like, we're huge Only Murders in the Family. We've been covering it since season 1. And, we was fortunate enough to talk with John Hoffman, and, we've been big supporters of the show, and we love the cast. And, I love the idea of how much they've been able to keep it still tied to the Arconia, right? And in its own unique way, while still now, like, I think last season, what was interesting with the murder that went on there was that it happened in the Arconia, but most of the intel and the information was coming from outside of the Arconia, right? To kind of influence it. So they're finding ways to break the formula and change it. But like last season and this season, it does feel like we are retreading on some similar stories or elements that we've kind of already had happen in later seasons. So I'm not sure if that's tell that maybe we're gonna be reaching the end soon. But that said, I do love this cast, and they still, like, even at season 5, I'm just chuckling at Martin Short and Steve Martin. Their banter together is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, I think as much as we love season 1, I don't know if I could have told you back then that this was going to be 5 seasons long necessarily.
Every year you're always like, this is the last season. This has got to be the last season.
It
This
feels
has gotta
like
be the last
it.
season.
It
The same
feels
thing with
like
the
it.
Bear. You're always like, oh, this is the last season of the Bear. What? They've been renewed for another season? My
It's
God.
crazy.
The one year you're going to be like, oh, I can't wait for next season. And then they're going to be like, no, we're not coming back. And you're like, oh, there you go.
Listen, that don't talk to me about Mythic Quest, okay? That's already
Yeah, there
kind of
you go.
happened. But no, like you were saying, they have a formula. They have this formula down, and it's funny because they have still found ways, obviously, to surprise you with a murder mystery this season. But there are still so many moments where, I'm sort of waiting for them to check boxes off of their own creation, right? Of things that they've already done in the past, but like kind of like, okay, who's the tenant moving, into the penthouse, right? So, but let's get to the synopsis for this season, and then we're going to dive deeper into talking about this season in this show. So after their beloved doorman Lester dies under suspicious circumstances, Charles, Oliver, and Mabel refuse to believe it was an accident. Their investigation plunges them into the shadowy corners of New York and beyond, where the trio uncovers a dangerous web of secrets connecting powerful billionaires, old-school mobsters, and the mysterious residents of the Arconia. The trio discovers a deeper divide between their storied city they thought they knew and the new New York evolving around them. One where the old mob fights to hold on as newer, even more dangerous players emerge. From co-creators and writers Steve Martin and John Hoffman, the series stars Selena Gomez, Steve Martin, Martin Short, with returning cast members Teddy Kaluka, Michael Cyril Crichton, Dave Vine, Joy Randolph, Jackie Hoffman, Richard Kind, Nathan Lane, James Caverly, Meryl Streep, and Tay Leone, as well as new guest stars Logan Lerman, Christoph Waltz, Renee Zellweger, Diane Weist, Bobby Cannavale, Keegan Michael Key, Jermaine Fowler, and Beanie Feldstein. The first 3 episodes will debut on Disney Plus on September 9th, with weekly releases up until the finale on October 28th. So, I think, Justin, you called it right off the bat there when you were talking about this show and how much we've loved it, and specifically how much we've loved this cast. So I wanted to kind of get in. We're in the 5th season of this show. I think as far as the Geekcentric podcast in general is concerned, a lot of our thoughts in terms of the show itself and the look and feel and elements about it are very much out there by this point. So I'd love to talk about the performances. And I think, the best thing to do would be to start off just with the tried and true. And Darcy, I know this is your first time joining us for a Only Murders review. So I thought I'd let you kick it off in talking about the tried and true, our main trio returning, and your thoughts on them this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think that every time we get them, their relationship just grows stronger, and you grow to love them even more than you already did. Again, Steve Martin and Martin Short. That's why you watch this show. I feel like, because you already know how well they work together in past comedies, and this is just kind of like, it feels like their swan song, where they're just like they're doing it because they know it works well, and that's why it keeps coming out. I think because it does work so well, and then you throw Selena Gomez into the mix, just the way that that old soul vibe with the old guys trying to stay young at heart. It's very funny how they meet in the middle at times, and just how they bring the best out of each other, and I love it. Again, their relationship grows on me every season, so that's the reason I keep returning to the show.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's the whole reason I love the show is, from the get-go was Martin Short, Steve Martin, that dynamic we already know. You throw in someone like Selena Gomez and you're kind of like, what? And then, it's worked these past five seasons, right? So it really has come together and been something that I think you can tell that, you know, they're all proud of it. They're all proud of what they were able to build with it. They're all proud that, you know, they've been able to bring in new friends and other castmates to be a part of this story. I think that's the one thing that's so interesting, is just the diverse, you know, ensemble cast that rounds out the trio, that surrounds the trio in a lot of ways, that helps to you know, elevate the entire experience of watching the show and seeing different angles and sides of stories. So but yeah, looking at the core three, you know, from season to season, they haven't missed. And I think their improvisation and their dialogue and banter is more authentic now because they understand each other. And I do think that they, as we've talked about, it's drawing from a real place. Like Selena Gomez in real life is the young person who has to educate these two people who are older, who don't necessarily understand things. And I think that dynamic feeds really well and naturally into the dynamic that they're able to establish in the show. And it's been a huge success. So yes, they are the entire reason I stick around and watch this show.
Yeah, I think we're like, I remember when we first heard of the casting for this series, and we all sort of were like, it feels a bit like stunt casting. Like, obviously, Selena Gomez had been an actress before and very much into the music side of things as well. But if you didn't know her from anything other than Wizards of Waverly Place, then it's like, wait, why her? And obviously, Steve Martin Short makes sense, but we're so far removed from that. And I love what you said there, Justin, about them getting to know each other so much more. And it feels like this season we're catching them in different places, but they, you know, they've got different struggles than they've had before. And the show is really it's showing us how much of an opportunity they have to utilize their relationships as more of an asset, more now than ever. And I love that about this season, is that, like you said, they've matured and grown so much together that they're now able to, they know each other so well that it's actually helping them in their case going forward, is just how much they know each other. But you brought up the other cast members, and there's so many more cast members that we could just talk all day about. But I kind of wanted to, just before we get into some of the new folks, I wanted to ask, we've got some returning cast members as well. Was there anyone that you wanted to bring up that really stood out as a highlight in season 5 for you?
I mean, Howard always stands out to me because Howard is always incredible. No matter what you do, so the plot lines they give the guy, he is just, I love how neurotic and uptight he is. And in this season, we get a bit of more of a peek into the past for a lot of the residents of the Arconia, and seeing where Howard came from was even better than I could have ever imagined. Like, just
his hair is all I'm going to say. It's incredible.
Yeah, of the returning cast, Michael Cyril Crichton is the standout. Always has been. He always finds his way of delivering very witty one-liners. And he was very involved in season 3. You know, he was very integral there. And last season, he was also fairly integral. He's kind of like doing all like the sort of like the grunt work, if you will. Like they gave him the
man
work.
In the chair.
Yeah, like the man in the chair sort of thing. Or like they were just like, you need to prove your worth. So they made him do things, and he was so willing. And I think in this season, he's a little bitter that he hasn't been given an official, you know, been an official part of the team. So he's finding friendship and strength in other places. And I think where he finds that and how those relationships and friendships sort of formulate is extremely interesting. And it definitely makes for great comedy gold.
100%. Yeah, he's I just can't think about him without laughing. Like that's how funny his character is. I am also really stoked to, we do get Meryl Streep back as Loretta Durkin. This is her, I guess, her 3rd season now in the show, and she is involved more in the later half of this season. So it's not like we're getting her throughout the entire thing, but when she shows up, she's right there. She's in the dirt with our main crew, and kind of similar in terms of the role that Howard sort of played in that season 3. She is now kind of, off doing this sort of sidekick stuff. And her relationship with Ollie is just so lovely because it just, he's so, Ollie is so much, but she's the right amount of much to be able to balance him out. And I love that about their relationship. And we get to learn more about them and their relationship this season. So I'm just so stoked to have her back. And there's another moment where we do get to see her on a stage performing. And it is one of those take your breath away kind of moments. Meryl Streep is obviously, she's Meryl Streep, but
For sure.
what else could be said,
Yeah, theater is in the DNA of this show. It always has been from the beginning, with a character like Ollie. But we see that come into full fruition in season 3, and it's always been there. So I love that it hasn't lost its theater roots, because I think the people involved, and I think John Hoffman is very much involved in like playwright. But yes, Meryl Streep is fantastic in anything she does, and I just love seeing her in this show. I love seeing her relationship with Ollie, and just to see Martin Short and Meryl Streep together is just, it's so nice, it's so lovely, and it feels so incredibly charming. A couple other people just returning. This is one of the attendants in the Arconia, Uma, I believe is her name. She's played by Jackie Hoffman.
Oh, Uma.
Who's always got something to
She's
say.
got it.
Her line delivery, she just
dude,
never misses.
She can deliver
chews it up, man.
She delivers the fuck out of a fuck.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? Like she
knows how to
good.
accentuate that. But with that as well, and sort of the line delivery and just commanding presence. We talked about Meryl Streep. We just mentioned Jackie Hoffman, Divine, Joy Randolph.
Yeah.
Again,
Oh, yeah.
like she just steps into a scene and she works so well. Like, to see her dynamic with the trio is awesome, and she's gotten to a place to be super, super comfortable with them. Like, there's an episode that's pretty revealing in the sense of like they all get like they get to know each other a little bit more. I don't want to say anything else outside of that, but it was just really awesome to see how she already knows these people, right? Like she spent like 5 seasons with them. She's worked on numerous cases. She can peg what their PTSD is and what affects them, and she can clock things really quickly. So I love that they've written that into her character, and more importantly, we get to see that on full display in this season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, just the fact that I think this is one of the good things that has come from 5 seasons of the show. While some parts do start feeling repeated and recycled, the character development is always so strong because you feel that time has passed and that you passed that time with them. And it's such a fun journey to go on with these characters over the 5 seasons, just to see where they end up and how they've changed just through the presence of each other. And like, for shouting out anymore, I got to say Richard Kind returning with the hyper-infectious pink eye. It's just, again, the tenants of this building feel like family now. And I loved seeing all of them pop up in all the ways they do. It's so much fun.
Yeah, there's a moment on a bike with him that is just beautiful this season. But sorry, I just wanted to mention one more thing about Davine as well, just with Donna Williams, Detective Donna Williams. Like, I love that you brought up the fact, Justin, that she is getting to know them more and that she can clock things. Like, she's always been such a good detective, but now we get to see how much of a detective she is when it comes to her relationship with these 3. And she's grown so much beyond the love-hate relationship with these 3 that it is kind of more of like it's more love than hate, which is lovely. And I think it's great getting to see her in those moments where you've got this really warm-hearted moment, and then she sort of just like the other characters in the scene will move ahead, walk forward, and you'll just see her go right back into that like disgruntled, Detective Williams face that she does so well. And she's right on the task at hand. And I love her so, so much. And I'm happy that we're getting more of her in this season. Now, let's get into, obviously, this cast is growing. Every season, we get some amazing new cast members, whether it be new residents of the Arconia or just some new foils for our main 3. Darcy, I wanted to throw it to you first. Who did you want to shout out from our new cast members?
Well, I mean, I love the new villainous 3 suspects that we got. I got to say, it's Beanie Feldstein's that steals the show for me. Just her relationship with Mabel throughout the season and the way it develops is just so much fun. And anytime she's there, I was laughing because she just plays this pop star character so well. And it's infectious. I understand why everyone in that world loves her, because I love her too.
Yeah.
Of our new trio of billionaires, I like Renee Zellweger. I think she's doing probably one of the most interesting character performances that she's done in years.
Yeah.
And I think you can see that she's having fun with it. And I think she feels like she can do it in a space like this with this cast, right? She's having fun with it. You can see that. She's like I said, she's with another trio of a trio of billionaires that are kind of seen as the new gangsters, in a lot of ways. And I really did think that, sorry, Christoph Waltz, he's playing Christoph Waltz. You know what I mean? Like this,
and Logan Lerman is kind of a Logan Lerman-esque kind of
but
character.
Renee Zellweger is really trying to put on a character performance with this, that feels sort of a part of the fabric of New York and of the story that they're telling. So I really did appreciate it, and I love the little things that she does, like the little mannerisms, the way she puts her hands up when she's walking, or she like twitches her fingers when she's unsettled, or the sort of pursed up, like sort of sour face, like she, tight-lipped sort of look that she has, where she's just like she's trying not to say much, she's frustrated or something. It all tells a tale of someone who's has a story, and it makes for a really interesting performance, and one worth noting.
Yeah. I've never, like you said, Justin, I've never seen her in a role like this, and I think she does such a good job of, she's larger than life, but she's also like, she's so calculated, she's so reserved at the same time, and she's kind of broken at the same time, and there's something behind her eyes the entire time that I think she just pulls off. But I with the main three of our kind of our foils, if you will, I think it's great to sort of see, Logan Lerman as Jay Flug is he's kind of the foil to Mabel, and then Renee Zellweger as Camilla White is kind of the foil to Oliver, and Christoph Waltz is the foil to Charles. And I like how they're kind of representing different elements of things that our main three want. And I think it's such a cool way that these characters were written in. Another highlight this season, joining the cast, that I wanted to shout out, that we get to learn of in the first place. Where has she been these past 4 seasons? I would have loved to have seen her more. But Lorraine Kaluka, played by Diane Wiest, who is Lester's widow, is wonderful this season. She's very delightful, but she also like don't get on her bad side kind of person as well. And she's just so surprising all the time.
Yeah, I always love her. I mean, I loved her in Life in Pieces, that story about the family and different generations, stuff like that. And she was great in that. So to see her pop
that's
up
where
here
I know her from, Darcy. Thank you. If you haven't watched,
that's where
Life
I caught my
Pieces,
Diane Wiest infection, stealing that joke from Boyle from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Infection. Okay.
Oh yeah, but I've gone to watch other stuff. She's incredible, and just getting to see her stretch again these comedic chops here, and also go to some other places like the show likes to do. It's really cool, and it's again, she's a delightful add to the season.
100%.
Yeah, she was another one of my favorites. I think she as Rainey, she can be quiet and reserved and very sentimental and appreciative, but then there's a whole other side that just unravels itself. And again, to the point of what you were saying, as someone who might be seen more as a dramatic actor and being able to kind of lose themselves in these characters and kind of bring that gravitas as a dramatic actor, this is a playground for her to flex comedic muscles, comedic timing, and she lands it every time. Like there's just one moment where she goes from happy to super pissed off, and I bursted out laughing just because of how drastic it was and how unexpected it was, because up to that point you're just seeing this sweet Rainy, and now you're seeing a full-fledged angry woman on display. Sorry, her name again is Diane Wiest. Yeah, I think Diane Wiest brings something, like you're saying, Darcy, something unique that really does kind of go into the mixing pot as feeling different from the other batch of characters that we've gotten this season and in past seasons too.
Yeah, she's incredible, and I hope if we do get more of this show, she is maybe another one of those recurring guest characters. I also just want to quickly shout out the Catch-A-Milio boys. That's the only other shout out that I want to give because they are unbelievable. They remind me a little bit of like the Hudsons a little bit.
Okay, we're not that dumb. We can survive with our mom. We can survive with our mom. I will say that much. Okay.
Yeah, I would say that they all just remind me of a group of Nates. In all honesty.
Okay. All right. Okay. We're gonna throw that
Nate
out.
blend with all the Hudson boys. Okay.
There we go. There we go. Well, listen. Let's talk about this story and pacing. We've seen 9 episodes of the 10 of these episodes, which is always a bit tricky for us. But we're very pleased and happy to watch it early to be able to talk about it. But also like, we can't wait to see what that final episode is. What is the big reveal? But don't worry, we're not going to be revealing anything. We are going to stay completely spoiler free when we talk about this. But I wanted to kind of throw it to you two to talk about this story. What did you think of the story this time around?
I really enjoy it. The fact that we spent 5 seasons in this building and haven't really gotten the story of the building. The plot line this season seems to be exploring that a bit more as to why the Arconia is the pride of New York, or at least the Upper West Side, like it's made out to be. So I'm really enjoying that aspect of it. And again, I've said one of my issues with the last season was the fact that it was so split up. Some of the stories felt more filler than integral. The fact that it feels a bit more tighter this season, I feel like it is a better pacing. I am looking forward to the next episode just after, just as much as I was enjoying the first one. Like it ends on satisfying notes that keeps you wanting to go back for more, which I really enjoyed this time around.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Last season felt, because we were kind of living in 2 different spaces, LA, New York, it didn't have that anchor, right? But the Arconia is that anchor for the show. So to return back to the roots of that for this season feels, it feels deserved. It feels like it makes sense, and it probably is that structure. But yeah, I think this season, it leans into what Only Murders does best. There's a clever meta mystery that reflects today's anxieties in some ways. Like I love how the narrative is weaving in like very topical themes like AI and the fear of job loss, or billionaires wielding influence like old school mobsters, and this idea of equality and equity, and in a time when everyone's struggling to make ends meet. I think that it all is on full display in this story, and more importantly, how those forces collide with the everyday New Yorkers who live in the Arconia. And I love that, because like to the point of what you're saying, they're bringing in the rest of this apartment building to really help unify the story. And I love that. So like structurally, I think the season feels similar, but also very rapid than previous ones. Like with reveals coming very like quickly, and the mystery kind of unfolding at a more brisk pace. Like it just feels like things and answers are being given to us a lot faster. And I know we were used to that formula in the past, because the every episode kind of ended with like, oh, a new clue or a new element to the mystery that we have to wait for the next week to solve. But some things were happening within the episodes a little bit quicker, or unexpectedly in some cases, that just didn't feel as tight as I would have expected. And I think that momentum does keep the suspense high. It also raises a lot of questions on in my opinion, if the show is rushing to answers so that it can kind of, knock down dominoes to get us to a answer quicker and understanding quicker, or is this just a sign of maybe them kind of experimenting with the overall structure? Because episode 2 was a bit of a surprise for me. It felt like episode 2 should have been later in the season, as based on the type of episode it is. But that said, it's like it was followed up by some of the other kind of typical episodes that we would come to know from past seasons. So, I wonder if they're just kind of experimenting with how they can, switch the episodes up and give answers, and what answers they give in specific times. So I feel like it feels different from past seasons in a lot of ways.
I also feel like their release schedule this time is interesting too. The fact that we're getting 3 episodes the first day, I think it's to really set up that mystery and really get you engaged. And I after the first 3 episodes, I totally understand why people would want to keep and finish, why people want to finish this story, because that after that third episode, they have set up all the big pieces that the rest of the season will take the time to unfold and uncover and stuff like that. So I think it's a really neat idea to, again, shift up that structure and pacing for this time around.
Yeah, and with a murder mystery, with a murder mystery show, it's inherent, especially 5 seasons in, though, that it's like it gets better as it goes. Like that's just how it is. I do agree with you though, Justin. I think there are a lot of moments where we're kind of getting answers popping up a little bit more quickly, which like on one hand you sort of think, yeah, this is their fifth go around. Of course they're going to be better. Hopefully you would have hoped that they would be better at this by this point, and in some ways they are. But I also think just general plot lines where maybe there would have been a scene to explain how a character got their phone back in certain instances, whereas they just have it and it's a line of dialogue that's used. That does kind of crop up a few more times than I think I'm used to with this show in this season. So I think there are a lot of moments where the show is still very much a fun ride, but I think there are elements to the mystery aspect that there is a bit of a trade-off for having an understanding that these characters are better at their jobs than us getting to sort of get through that mystery with them. I think where this season specifically from a story standpoint is its strongest is when we actually get to see these characters fail a little bit more. And I think that's kind of, those are the key moments to see them, like any season, but especially in this season, to see them confront their feelings, to see them, actually having to work together to uncover those elements about the mysteries within themselves, I think is really kind of where this story and this season specifically shines the most. I think there's a lot of mystery left in the Arconia, and the same can be said about Mabel and Ollie and Charles and these tenants. But I think that the two areas that really stood out as a highlight in these 9 episodes are definitely later into the season when we are getting to sort of dig deeper into them as people. But then, like you said, and oddly enough, we love a bottle episode. Like you said, Justin, normally we're waiting until episode 7 for that. We get that, right away, right off the bat, early on. And I love how you put it, Darcy, that honestly, it brought my thoughts up entirely just with you saying it, which is that this season really is about the Arconia in itself and how it has planted itself as such a big, monumentous place within New York. Because obviously we've heard about that, but now we're actually getting to see it. And I think that's the biggest thing is we love to see this stuff happen instead of just hearing about it, which is where when we get some plot points that are just explained in dialogue, that's where it hurts a little bit more in terms of the story. But let's get into our kind of our final thoughts on wrapping this all up. And I'd love to know your final thoughts and one episode you can't wait for fans to see. And Justin, we'll start with you, my friend.
Yeah. I guess for like final thoughts, I think season 5 just continues to do what I love about this show. It just blends that sharp satire. We have great performances with, a mystery that just will keep you guessing. It feels, again, modern, timely, and just a little bit more frantic than what we've seen before at the same time. So it's just a little more fast paced, which, it can make it feel more exciting. It could make it feel a little unfamiliar, but I'm very excited to see the final episode. The one episode I cannot wait for people to see is episode 8. I think that is the one that is a standout for me. I think that's where we're talking about, like, where you were talking about before there, Nate, about like, learning more about them and understanding their failures. I think we've been kind of tiptoeing around that, where they've been kind of hiding it from each other to a certain degree. There's moments where they get to celebrate in the season, Mabel's growth, yet they haven't, where Charles and Ollie can celebrate Mabel's growth, but they themselves have not really grown past what they know. So in episode 8, I feel like it is very much focused on kind of understanding a little bit more about them and their personalities, and in a very, very hilarious way. So yeah, I'm looking forward to people seeing episode 8.
And there's a beautiful moment in that episode with specifically with Mabel and Lorraine that is just super touching. That's definitely a good pick. Darcy, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this season. Again, I feel like I'm enjoying it a lot more. And as I'm sitting here talking about pacing and stuff like that with you guys, I'm thinking back to watching this like a normie, waiting a week for every episode, and I feel like some of the times the issues with that was that the episode you didn't get any satisfying results or anything like that. So I feel like the higher pace might be a bit more enjoyable if you're only viewing this weekly, unlike in a block like we did. So
That's very true.
anyways, I really enjoy the plot and mystery that's happening this time around. Again, the way they managed to, put all those red herrings in and lead you down one path and all that stuff, they still do it really well. And again, our core cast and the ensemble surrounding them does such a great job. You can tell they're having so much fun telling this wild goose chase of a mystery. And yeah, I think my favorite episode, or the episode I'm most looking forward to people watching, is episode 9, because it's a point of view episode from a new resident of the building, and just the things that happen in front of this character, I guess, are just some really enjoyable stuff, and I love that exploration. So yeah, when we get there, I can't wait to talk about it with people.
That's going to be that is going to be a good conversation. And there's an unanswered question that the three of us have that we're dancing around on that specific character. But I think it makes sense that they're getting to these answers faster. This is their 5th go around. I think it does take a little bit of fun out for the audience, just a little bit from moment to moment. But I think this show is at its best when it slows down, when we dig a little bit deeper into the emotions of these characters and we see them learning and growing through these breakthroughs, which is so lovely this season. I think their relationships feel like even more of an asset to each other this season, and the recurring guest cast members and new cast members are all wonderful additions to the developing rich history that we're learning even more about of the Arconia this season. So I'm excited to see where we end up. I think this series feels like maybe it should take its final bow, but this season itself to me doesn't feel big enough just yet. I think I kind of want an encore. I want one more epic final season that ties everything together and give a proper send off for this show.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that this is the one that I would be happy with if they said, we're not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there's still something left here in a sort of final season to be done. But that said, who knows? They might have more. I am always interested in how they're able to bring these murders, bring the murder to, how they're able to attach the murder to the Arconia. And as you guys were saying, the Arconia is just it's such an integral part to this season. It could be their final bow, but at the same time, it's like I wonder if there's more in the tank.
If
they don't already have an idea.
6 seasons in a movie, right?
6 seasons in a movie, yeah.
That's what we should do. And the movie could be the movie that's being made in the show. Whoa.
Sure. So it stars cool. Zach Galifianakis and Eugene Levy and
Eva Longoria.
I don't mind that idea. That would be funny. They really play into it. Cool.
The episode that I can't wait for people to see, you're all going to be lucky enough to get to see it on day 1, which is episode 2. Teddy Kaluka as Lester has a fantastic episode that just showcases, like you were talking about, Darcy, like his character, but also the history of the Arconia so well. And it's so much fun as fans of this show to watch this episode and get to see we get to see the history, and you recognize exactly what time you're in based on the characters that you're seeing, right? And based on what they're going through. And because we know so much of them and their lives at this point, we can sort of pinpoint exactly on a timeline where they are. And it was so much fun. We get to see younger versions of everyone done in very tasteful ways, I must say. Like I wasn't sure what to expect when some characters maybe turned around, but I thought it was done really, really well, and it was very insightful, and it's a standout bottle episode that it's just a beautiful story that encapsulates the life of a doorman, and I really, really enjoyed it just on its own. So I'm excited for people to dig into that one. But listen, that is it for our spoiler-free discussion for Only Murders in the Building Season 5. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to share your thoughts on this series or any of the movies or series we cover, well, let me just have Justin uncover a clue that will lead him through a series of other clues that will eventually unveil how you can use the evidence provided to finally reach out to us with your confessions.
They can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or they can reach out to us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT, or they can hit us up on Instagram and TikTok at wearegeekcentric.
Justin, you figured out that mystery a little too quickly for me. If you could slow it down next time.
I'm just going with the pace of the show, dude. So, answers need to be delivered. So
it's true. We have done this. We have done this enough times. You're right. I guess we should be pretty good at it. Keep in mind, we also have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies and TV shows, including our recent Fan Expo Canada 2025 recap, where we share our thoughts on this year's convention, the panels, the activations, and all the wonderful geeky things we bought. The episode is out now for your listening pleasure, as well as our recent spoiler-free reviews for the latest series and movies like Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, Peacemaker Season 2, Neja 2, Freakier Friday, FX's Alien Earth, and Marvel Animation's Eyes of Wakanda. Plus, we've got some great interviews to check out, like our most recent interviews with two of the cast members from Wednesday Season 2. We caught up with Wednesday cast members Joy Sunday and Georgie Farmer live at Fan Expo Canada, right in front of Netflix's giant blow-up mansion to talk cast chemistry, iconic dance moves, Gorgon hair care, and the Part 2 episode they can't wait for fans to see, which it's out now. Part 2 is out. I got to catch up. I don't know if we're going to have time to watch it. We've got so much. You've already finished it, Darcy. Okay, yep. I'm excited to hear your spoiler-free thoughts off air. But you can catch that interview as well as all of our interviews out now, either on your podcast service of choice or over on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. Now it's official. The hot geek summer has sadly come to an end. No? When does it come to an end?
September 20th or something like that is the fall equinox or whatever.
Darcy,
when fall begins.
Listen,
tomorrow's supposed to be super hot too. So
it's 27 degrees today. It's not, the end of summer is not here yet, man.
Exactly.
Well, just because school started doesn't mean summer's over.
Well, you heard it. You heard it here. The hot geek summer continues. Thanks to Darcy. We are going to be jumping into more sweaty, hot, geeky goodness as we've been accredited to attend the Toronto International Film Festival for the festival's 50th anniversary. They said, we need Geekcentric involved. So we're going to be bringing you our thoughts on the festival itself, our thoughts on a ton of incredible, great, wonderful films being screened there. We're talking Wake Up Dead Man, Smashing Machine, Frankenstein, and so many more. Technically, our first TIFF review is already out for Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, which we all adored. But again, give us a follow on all the things to see everything we get up to at TIFF. Darcy, Justin, thank you so much for joining me for this spoiler-free and murderous discussion. And as we say, love ya.
Laters.
Peace.
After you.